Prince Mangosuthu will be laid to rest today. His remains arrived yesterday at his home in KwaPhindangene, Ulundi in KwaZulu Natal. Hundreds of people lined the streets of the town to watch the body being transported from the mortuary to his residence. A church service was conducted to welcome the remains. Some family members, IFP officials, dignitaries and community members sang and chanted as they accompanied Buthelezi's body. Well, SABC News reporter Natasha Piri is in KwaPhindangene to tell us more, and we cross to her right now. Very good morning to you, Natasha. Thank you so much for joining us. It certainly is a very, somber day, I would say, not only in Ulundi, but in South Africa as well. Just take us through what's happening where you are.
Well, very good morning to you, Simpio, and of course to our morning live viewers. Somber, yes, but I mean, just judging by, the various mourners that were here yesterday, some had said that this is an opportunity for South Africans to celebrate a life, well lived. And of course, right now we're currently at the homestead of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in KwaPhindangene here in Ulundi. And of course, we're waiting there for the body to be transported to the nearby stadium, where of course the funeral service will start at 10 a.m. We do know that the coffin of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will be draped in the IFP flag from his homestead where we're currently in. And of course when the funeral procession actually starts, or funeral service starts, then the South African flag will then be draped over his coffin when like I said, that service starts. But I mean, Simpio, we've been hearing this past week political parties, leaders of various political parties coming here to pay their respects for the oldest, serving member of parliament in our South African parliament, saying that this is a man that taught them tolerance in parliament. This is a man that instilled discipline amongst members of parliament. We do know that, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be delivering that eulogy at his funeral. But perhaps, Simpio and Lebo, if you'll allow me to take this conversation further with my colleague Ndebo Mokobo, who works also for our radio side. Mr. Mokobo, we've heard and we've seen various political, party leaders coming in this various week, paying respects to, the founding president of the IFP. What do you expect President Cyril Ramaphosa to say in his eulogy?
Well, good morning, Natasha, and good morning to the viewers at home. I think the president will have to do a bit of a serious balancing act in his speech. He will be very cautious. He will be very reconciliatory. You would recall that the ANC and the IFP, as the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been the founding father of the IFP, and the IFP and the ANC at some point were at loggerheads, especially in the early 1980s towards the mid-1990s. So the president will, in his speech, really try to balance to be balanced in his speech and ensure that he brings the two parties together. You would recall that even just before his passing, Dr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi was wishing that the ANC and the IFP would reconcile, and the president would really sort of try to strike that chord in terms of ensuring that the parties are together, especially as we move towards the 2024 elections. And I think it will be a celebration of the life that is well lived. The late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is well loved amongst his people, is loved by his people, and that on its own, it would be a dignified send-off, because you would understand that the president has given him a special official funeral, category 1, that would include the 21-gun salute. So that on its own, it's a sign that he has been accorded that respect by the president, who happens to be the president of the ANC.
Do you see that reconciliation happening in real terms? I mean, you and I had interviewed, Reverend Musa Zondi, who once served as the Secretary General of the IFP, and he had said that, listen, reconciliation, we've reached out to the ANC, but now that reconciliation process, is in the courts, or is in the ball of, in the courts of, the ANC.
There is nothing that is that one can say it's unachievable. as long as there is a political will, I think that reconciliation could be achieved. But you need to understand that the IFP and the ANC are the most critical political parties in the body politic of South Africa. So both president or both leaders of the two parties, it has to come from them to ensure that their people, their rank and file membership really work together or see each other as a fellow countrymen.
He was also labeled as an international icon. You look at the people that, for instance, he went to university with, the likes of Z.K. Matthews, the likes of your Robert Mugabe's. He was close friends with Kenneth Kaunda, with former Nigerian President Obasanjo. What does that tell you about the man?
Well, he was a learned man. He had that a father figure, a statesman figure. So that on its own tells that he's someone who, when he departs this world, many people would miss him, not just in South Africa, but even beyond the borders of South Africa. So that on its own, he can be credited for really touching not just ordinary South Africans or the people here in South Africa, but even beyond the borders of our country.
He was also a man, when you talk about economic emancipation, you and I had an interview with the CEO of Itala Bank, and of course he was a man that really wanted to empower rural people in the formation of Itala Bank in the 1950s when he formed that bank. And this is a bank that was set up especially in the rural areas for rural people who don't have commercial banks.
That is why he is so loved by the rural community here, because you would recall, back in the days, poor people, especially in the hinterlands of our country, the deep hinterlands of our country, were seen as people who are unbankable. So him forming or founding the Itala Bank gave everyone an opportunity, especially those who were like your menial workers working as garden workers, working in the kitchens, like just domestic workers. Those people were given an opportunity really to access our financial banking system in South Africa. So that is why he is so revered, especially amongst his communities. And I think there is really a lot that one can look into his life in this world, especially the formation of this bank. If you look at, for instance, that South Africa right now, at some point we're struggling to pay even social grants. That on its own could have been like a framework that the government or the government of South Africa can come up with a formidable state bank. That on its own, really, it's one thing that it can be credited for.
Lebo, thank you so much. Of course, interesting conversations coming out here, Lebo. Of course, as we bring you wall-to-wall coverage here of, the funeral service of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Of course, as SABC News, we will and we promise to bring you wall-to-wall coverage. Lebo, you've mentioned there that I'm not alone. I've also got my other colleagues, and I'm Hlong and Simpiwe Makhanya. And of course, throughout the day, SABC News will be bringing you the funeral service of the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. So I do implore you to make SABC News your news channel of choice as we give you rolling coverage of today's funeral service. With that said, it's back to you in studio for now.